Hey there YouTube and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about how you can turn your sales page into sales content you can use to promote your offer. I see so many people who are excited to sell their offer and you go looking at 100 different content hooks or email topics and I'm like, friend, it's all right in front of you on your sales page. So that's what we're going to dive into today. So grab a notebook and let's dive in. So let's really quickly talk about what a sales page is and why it's the perfect source of ideas to sell your offer. So your sales page is a dedicated website page that only talks about one offer, and it's only there. Its only job is to showcase and sell the value of one offer. So we want to make sure that you're not looking at your general services page, your general home page. This should be a dedicated page to one offer. And if you're not sure what should be on that page or how to write it in a strategic way that actually helps sell your offer, I've got a YouTube video just about that topic, so you can check it out here. But the most important thing to know about sales pages is that when they are written strategically and correctly, they actually follow the buyer's journey. And the idea behind a sales page is that somebody who has no idea who you are or what you do could land on that page, and by the end of reading that page, they know who you are, what you do, how you can help, and that they want your offer. And that's exactly why it makes such a great source of inspiration for your sales content, because if you follow what's on your sales page and you just turn that into content, you are going to be creating content that also follows the buyer's journey and gets people fired up and ready to buy. Alrighty, let's dive in. We're going to use my sales page as an example so you can kind of see how the sales page flows and how we can pull out content ideas from each section. Okay, so to start, urgency on evergreen. So up here, usually on the top of a sales page, we have like the name of the offer as well as like what it is, who it's for, how it works. And so what we can do in terms of creating content from up here is create a pinned post for your profile. I really recommend doing this and starting with this because that way every piece of content you create after that, you've got this pinned post that overviews what the offer is, who it's for, etc. And so in this pinned post, I recommend just having like the name of your offer as like the first slide and this like tagline that overviews all of it. Then on the second slide, you can have just bullet points of who the offer is for. The third slide can be key like offer features or deliverables. And the final can be just a call to action or an invitation to buy. That way, as soon as somebody lands on your profile and they are curious about how they can work with you right now, they've got this pinned post that they can browse through. Okay, moving on. The next section on a sales page is usually a pain point section, which is where we are helping your ideal client who's reading this page realize that they are in the right place. I know pain point can sound kind of negative, but the idea isn't that we're poking at it. We're just trying to say, hey, if this is you, if this is what you're experiencing right now, this is what you're going through, you're in the right place, keep reading. And so for me, the sales page says, you've got the right people watching, but nothing seems to tip them over into buying, or it's hard to hold their attention when there's no deadline or discount. And so, for you and creating content from this problem section, I would just be thinking about problem awareness, right? Your ideal client potentially like knows that they have a problem, but they're not super clear on like why like you might be the solution, or like they're not really even clear why this problem might be happening, right? And so content you can create is just exploring that problem with them. And so what I recommend is thinking about, you could literally take any of these bullets and turn it into content. And a really simple way to do this is just start it with if, right? So if you've got the right people watching, but nothing seems to tip them over into buying, here's why that's actually happening, right? Or like, if it's hard to hold your audience's attention when there's no deadline or discount, like, here's why that's happening. Like, just dive into that with them and think about like, why do they think that's happening, right? So right now, for example, with this bullet point, you've got the right people watching, but nothing seems to tip them over into buying. Here's what you don't need to do. You don't need more content. You don't need a bigger audience. What you need is urgency, right? That would be like what I would say. So think about for you, like, let's say you're a weight loss coach. It wouldn't be like, right now you feel like you're cutting calories and working out 3 times a week and you're not losing weight. Here's what's actually happening. You're not XYZ. Right? And help them kind of realize like what's really going on. And so that's what you can do up here. But yeah, and you can use this as jumping off points for really anything. You could create educational content, right? Like, Let's see. If it's hard to hold your audience's attention, like here's 3 types of content you can create to hold their attention, right? So like that could be educational too. All right, next on the sales page for me and what I teach is that you should have a bold point of view, right? So like right now we've called out their problems and it's like, okay, like let's shift their perspective. Let's like call out like, you're on my sales page, so I'm going to tell you what I think the answer is. And I'm going to jump right into like my unique approach, my like way of thinking about solving your problem so that you know why you should stick around, because chances are they've heard that, oh, I know how to solve your problem. They've heard that before. So let's dive right into like what makes you different. And so that's why right under the problems, I have a like point of view section that's like, you don't need, a flash sale, a big bonus, limited spots, or doors open. You need to learn how to build real demand and internal urgency. And so for you, like what this could be is like thinking about what myth do you want to bust, or what belief does your audience have that's holding them back? What is a hot take perspective or hill you are willing to die on when it comes to what you do and how you help your clients, right? And like those alone can be like hot takes. Like this could be a post, but I have so many other like hot take perspectives I could share too. So think about what else those that you have that you can share as content too. Okay, moving on down. So next on the page is the desire section. So this is where we start speaking to the positives, the possibilities, like what outcomes do they want to achieve and how do they want to feel by the end of this work? And so here, again, same as the pain point section, you can kind of explore these desires with them, right? Like if you are ready, and this is like a great way to create a hook, right? Like if you're ready to grab attention and drum up demand, if you're ready to have content and emails that actually pull your weight, like here's what needs to change, or here's something to try. Like you can give them a tip to try. Like let's say, if you're ready for your launches to feel way less stressful, here's what to do, or here's what needs to change, or here's how I helped my client, or here's how I would coach you, right, to get this result. And so you can turn all of these desires and results that they want into kind of showing them like how you would support them or what they could try or something like that to kind of like show them like that your desire is possible. And here's how I would help you get there. Okay, next on the page, we have client wins. So each of these client wins could be a post. And what I recommend is when you're sharing client wins is to not just share like, oh, like, just this. You want to really like walk people through the process that got this result. So for example, we would say, my client came to me struggling with this or stuck on this or finding XYZ challenging. Then I helped them by working on things 1, 2, and 3. And you just want to pick out like, what are the 1, 2, 3 things that really moved the needle for that client? And then you share the result. And the reason we do this is so that when people are reading it, they're not just like, okay, great win, good for her. They're really like seeing and selling themselves and like, oh, would I want to go through that process too? So yeah, all of your like client wins, when you know like, oh yeah, I really helped that client or I really changed that client's life, like share the story behind that. And that can be your content. Okay, so now on the sales page, we're getting into just like the offer features, what's included, the deliverables. And so what I recommend here is like, think about one, what features do you want your offer to be known for? Or like what deliverables are really like, oh yeah, like those are like standout, unique, different deliverables. Like that, I want you to create content that spotlights that, so that's one thing. A second thing is to think about features that maybe are particularly unique to you, right? Like, oh, nobody else tends to offer this type of feature or this type of support. Again, spotlight that. Something else is to think about features that are like your quick win features, right? So people get instant access to like, yes, the entire curriculum, but maybe like dive into what happens as soon as they join. This is module 1. Tell me about module 1. Or for me, I offer a like convert more in 30 days onboarding audit. And that's like a personalized welcome audit to the program. Okay, let's spotlight that because it's like going to help build urgency because it's like, oh yeah, like as soon as you enroll, here's the exciting like stuff that's going to happen. And we could spotlight that. And then even in general, you could create like a behind the scenes post that's like, oh, like peek into like my portal and just create like a 2-minute video that helps them see what they get when they buy. Or like what are you working on right now with your clients? Maybe like, for me, I could be like, oh, here's behind the scenes on a copy review that I did today, right? So like you can just think about like what's alive, what's happening in your offer right now that you could showcase. So there's plenty of ideas that you could do just from like looking at literally what does your offer include? Maybe you offer a like if you're a money coach, maybe you do like a financial plan. Maybe you can show the behind the scenes of the financial plan that you give to your clients. And of course, an anonymized version or a blank version, right? But like there's so much here that you can really do to showcase like, here's how I deeply support my clients. So think about that. Okay, and then we have pricing. We have like, okay, more testimonials. Down here, I have like a, this is for you and this is for you now, if section. But, also what you can do here is just think about like really calling in like who you want to work with and who you are for and not for, right? So again, thinking about like your unique perspectives, the lines in the sand that you draw, how you're different than other experts in your space. You could create like, if you're a money coach, it might be like, if you like want somebody to be like a budget spreadsheet, like, drill sergeant, I'm not the one for you. Or if you want to tell people that you quantum leap them into their next level, I'm not the coach for you, right? Like you can think about like, how do you want to call in like who you're for, who you're not for? If you want a weight loss coach who is going to make you count every calorie, I'm not the one for you, right? Or if you want a nutritionist who, is going to also be down for chicken wings and beer, like I'm the one for you, right? So you can just like get playful with it. And another thing that you could create from this type of section is like, who tends to succeed? Or like, what do all your clients who succeed have in common? And create a post around that. Like, oh, the people who are able to put 10K in savings, here's all the things they have in common. Or like all the clients I've been able to help sell out their offers, here's what they've had in common. And then people will scroll because they're curious and they're like, ooh, like, do I have all of those things? Do I have all of those characteristics? So that's something you could create too. Okay, down here is just another like bold point of view statement. So again, same as what I said above. Okay, so for this, your about me section on your sales page should be like not just like your general like who are you and why are you an expert, but it should really be like building credibility for this specific offer. And so in terms of like content you can create from your about me section, firstly, this whole thing could just be a piece of content. And then you could also like pull out little like pieces of it. So for me, for example, maybe I could tell a story about like, I used to, or, I was trying to get consistent interest in sales. So here are 3 things that I did in my marketing. And by the end of that year, I had brought in over 100K in sales using these same strategies. Right. So like I could like tell different pieces of my story, tell like, how did I come up with these strategies? Why do I do this work? Why did I create this program? Like, thinking about just like how you can showcase like why you're the expert to trust and why, like, how can you make yourself relatable? How can you share your expertise? And yeah, just like telling your story. But this is like a really easy piece of content to create because it's probably already written for you. Okay, and then finally, FAQs. So FAQs, you want to be thinking about what are the questions that people ask themselves before they're ready to buy. So really plain and simply, you could create a like, questions people ask me before they join my program or join my offer. And make like a slideshow of like the top 5 questions people ask. And maybe it's just like more logistical. And then what you can also do is think about specific questions people might have that make them hesitate to buy. So maybe let's say, for example, you're a public speaking coach and it's like, oh, like, should I join if I'm if I have stage fright, and you can say, yeah, absolutely. Here's how my program helps with stage fright. Or if you're a bookkeeper, maybe your FAQ is like, do I need to clean up my books before I get started? And it's like, no, we do that together. Here's how we blah, 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 right? So you can also think about not just FAQ, like logistical questions, but what are those like potential hesitations, concerns, or fears that they have about getting started, and brainstorm some of those, and those can be like cues you can answer in your content too. Okay, and then we have a final CTA just to like wrap up the page. And for this, I recommend you can use whatever CTA you have to wrap up your page. You can also use that as a CTA in your captions and your emails and so on. And of course, you can tweak it like from time to time just to keep it fresh. But you probably already have a great CTA written, so use that in your content too. Okay, so that is everything. I hope you enjoyed, and you have plenty of ideas to run with for content to sell your offer. So yeah, all in all, I just want you to remember that every single thing on your sales page can become a hook. It can become an email topic. You just need to think about getting creative and thinking about what does my ideal audience, my ideal client need to hear to feel ready to buy, and take that piece of copy from your sales page and run with it. Turn it into something that you can use to sell your offer. And I love this because at the end of the day, your sales page is so unique to you, and it's going to help you create unique sales content that stands out and sells too. And if you want a full mini guide on what you can do starting right now to bring in more signups and sales and bring in that next client, head to the description below because my offer Deadline Detox is a great way to get started. Inside, you're going to find 4 modules that cover copy swaps you can make right away in your messaging, in your content to bring in that next client. So you can check it out below. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.